I'm Ina Ditke. Between Pete and us, we helped Arturo defect from Cuba. We were on tour with the Dizzy Gillespie United Nations Orchestra, and I was the tour manager. Because Arturo was very highly regarded in Cuba, he could explain that being away for 10 weeks, he wants to see his son and his wife. Against their rules, they let the son and wife come over to England, who then stayed with Pete King, while Arturo was on tour with me and with Dizzy. And suddenly I got a midnight call from Brian saying that Pete had a call from the American embassy. Somehow the Cuban government got wind of the fact that he wanted to defect. And we sat there at 3 a.m, and Dizzy was on the phone to the American embassy in Italy. Pete King was on the phone to the American embassy in London. So in the middle of the night, we got everybody into cars. Pete got them to the American embassy because the Cubans couldn't do anything. Once you're in the embassy, that's it. And we got Arturo down to Rome to be at the embassy, and they immediately, the next day, they flew over to Washington, D.C.
Walter Hauser, the club's lawyer. He defected from Cuba. I am told, but I don't know with what authority or how true it is, that the CIA were tracking him and they had put surveillance on Pete King's telephone. I don't know that that's true. That's what I've been told. An absolutely astonishing musician, Arturo. He's a wonderful trumpet player, very fine pianist, and a very nice guy.
Howard Scott, from the band War.
We were playing at Ronnie's and Jimi Hendrix came in. He just appeared and he was in the audience and he wasn't, there to play. The next night he came in and he had a Strat in his hand and he was coming toward the stage and I noticed his eyes. His eyes were just so white and wide open, He was ready to play. I grabbed my guitar and pulled it out. So I'm getting ready to leave and he told me, he says, Howard, stay. Just stay. I want you to play. And he plugged into the same amp that I was into. So I think the first song that he played on was like Tobacco Road, a jam song from Eric Burden that we recorded. And the next song was a song called Mother Earth, which was deep, dark blues. It was just hardcore blues. Jimmy lit into a guitar solo that was probably just, you could hear all the painful notes that he was playing, not knowing that he was probably, not going to be around long. But he played this amazing guitar solo. And I was not going to play it all, but he wanted me to take a solo, so I did. When I got my confidence up, we were going back and forth. And when I really started getting good, me and Jimmy were just cutting the place up. We were tearing it up, me and him, back and forth. Great night. And that was his last performance on this planet with Eric Burden and War. And Howard Scott was the last guitarist to play with Jimi Hendrix, not knowing that was going to be his last performance.
Bass player Dave Green.
Out of the blue, I got a phone call from Ronnie asking me if I'd like to do a month with Roland Kirk. That was a fantastic gig we did. That was opposite Norman Winston. I got on very well with Roland. He did this thing called Here Comes the Whistle Man, where he would hand out penny whistles. And this particular evening, as it happened, we were playing. We were doing a vamp and he was handing out the penny whistles and all that. Suddenly, the place was full of police. Just unbelievable. About 30 police came in, roaring into the club. Oh, what the hell's going on? So we were playing, carried on playing, And the guy in charge, with a peak cap, came up to the bandstand and said, stop him. And then Pete King appeared from the office, and this guy turned around to Pete and said, stop him. And Pete said, you fucking stop him.
I love this club. I have so many great memories. There was a period when I was coming to the club on my own, but every time I would come, because they were smoking allowed, I would lose my voice. And I would say, please tell them not to smoke, I'll lose my voice. And they were like, oh, Dee, they just do it. And then I would lose my voice. And I think I came one time and I made it through the first night, because Brian would always take me to some doctor and I would get the shot in the butt. And then I could make it. But this one particular time, there was so much smoke. And I said to Pete and to Ronnie, I said, I'm not going to make it. And they said, but Dee, we can't. He took me to get the shot, but I never got my voice back. And you guys had to get another singer to fill in and I think it was 4 nights or something I was supposed to do.
Hi, I'm Claire Martin. He actually phoned my house to offer me a support slot for Humberto Pascal. And when I picked up the phone, he said, hello, it's Ronnie Scott. I just thought it was my dad joking. And it was in the days when I think I had a payphone in a shared house, and he said, trying to get hold of you is like trying to get hold of the Pope. And he gave me this week supporting Humberto. I couldn't believe it. It was just a dream come true. Great opportunity for me to get myself known, for me to really rehearse a trio so it could be in a fit state to actually be on that stage. And I was so nervous. I just thought, I'm going to faint. And Ronnie Scott came back through those doors, the famous doors, and said, what's the matter? I'm so terrified I can't breathe, I'm going to be sick. He said, don't be silly, it's not brain surgery, is it? Go on, get out there, and sort of pushed me out.
Roy
Ronnie didn't fall out with Stan Getz as much as Pete did. It was Pete that said, no, I'll never have that man back in the club again. Whereas Ronnie actually, they made it. In fact, years later, his son, Stan Getz' son, wanted to buy the club, or at least manage it. And Ronnie was quite up for it. People said, no, he's a Getz. I'm not having him.
I'm Michael Watt, co-owner with the lovely Sally Green of Ronnie Scott's, Frith Street, London, England. Stan Getz stole one of my girlfriends. She smashed all his records. I was very upset. She was a bit player in the first James Bond film, and she was quite a find. She was a statuesque Norwegian, very beautiful girl. So I took her to see the famous Stan Getz. I borrowed money and went in there and bribed everybody, got a proper seat, and he played to her all night. He just took his axe and just looked at her, and I could see everything going out the window. And I had to fly back to work on a drilling rig in Algeria 2 days later, and I found out from a mate of mine that she'd moved in with Getz into his hotel the next day. So,
my name is Paul Robinson. One of my stories, which is quite famous among musicians, and, you know, when you talked money with Nina, you were always in a dangerous area, you know. I can't remember who she was talking to. Door kept opening, might have been people were coming in and out. I said, Nina, I need to talk to you about money. She got a glass of champagne in her hand, and I'm just looking at her. I'm focused on her. The door keeps opening and closing. It could have been Buddy Rich come through. I didn't care. I've just had some more money. At that point, I could see the glass rise, and she throws it, because I knew she wasn't going to hit me. It was going to hit the wall, and you can see that, you know. So I'm waiting, and I knew when it hit the wall, I got my money. You know, because if she didn't want to give me the money, she said, fuck off and hit me, you know.